Hey, 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 welcome back to Iconic Leadership, where we explore what it is to truly rise up and lead and create impact that expands far beyond ourselves. And today's guest is someone who has built her entire life's work around helping women reclaim their power, starting with their health. So, Sarah Bouse is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, international speaker, best-selling author, and a humanitarian leader who helps high-performing women stop accepting burnout and exhaustion as the normal. And today's conversation isn't just about health, ladies. It's about purpose, it's about leadership, and it's about what happens when a woman says yes to a calling that stretches her beyond her comfort zone and into global impact. So, during the Rise Up Kenya tour, Sarah traveled across the world to educate thousands of girls about body literacy, menstrual health, and self-worth. But along the way, she experienced something unexpected. Her husband, Melvin, joined the trip simply to support her journey. Yet, what unfolded was a powerful reminder that leadership is contagious. And when one person rises, often others find the courage to rise alongside them as well. So today we're talking about service and transformation and purpose and partnership and leadership and really what happens when you allow your life to become bigger than yourself. So with that, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, girl, yes. And this is, I think, is this your second or third appearance on Iconic Leadership?
I think it's second.
Okay, okay. There's clearly other ones coming for sure in my brain.
Yes.
Well, welcome back to Iconic Leadership. You kind of know the types of conversations that we have. I know you listen to the shows each week. You're always commenting and things like that. So, you guys, let's show Sarah some love. If you're watching this on our Alpha Queen Collective YouTube page, if you're catching this on one of our podcast channels, feel free to just drop Sarah some love. And of course, if you have any questions or anything like that for Sarah, you can always drop them there and we'll relay them over. And of course, if you're looking to get a hold of Sarah, if something that she shares is just like, I need to connect with Sarah, her contact information is below as well. So I want to kind of dive right into it because you had an incredible experience at the Rise Up Kenya tour. Now, before Kenya, before we get to that, you spent years helping women transform their health and their hormones. I'm curious, what inspired you to take your mission beyond your local community of women and onto a global stage?
So I have worked globally with women, but it's ones that have been more privileged, if that makes sense. They
Mhm.
have the opportunity, they have the resources, they have all those things. And I have thought about my own local community, and I've thought about those that are all over where they just don't. They don't have the resources, they don't have the access.
Mhm.
And oftentimes they don't give themselves the permission to even learn about themselves because they're like, no, something's wrong with me, all those things. And so that's what made it huge is I was like, people need to know, and girls specifically need to know. You need to hit them a little bit earlier. I work with women that are more like 35 plus that
Uh-huh.
they still don't know about their bodies.
Mhm.
But the thing is that they had the opportunity, but they just didn't take it. And now I'm like, okay, we really need to make sure that we support those, not, I wouldn't say underprivileged, but just don't have the access.
Right, right. Access or education, or even just like you had mentioned, right? Permission to just talk about this type of a conversation. So I remember the moment where you stepped on stage and you were speaking to thousands of girls about body literacy and women's health. What moments or conversations impacted you the most during those experiences?
So when I spoke to those girls, that was probably the time that I really saw their faces. Like when I got on stage and I spoke about the body literacy, it was so interesting to see their faces literally change in front of you.
Mm.
Where before they were like, I had them raise their hand. So I am very much an interactive speaker. And so I was like, I want you to raise your hand and those kinds of things. And you could tell even the teachers were a
Mm.
little bit hesitant to raise their hand about something. I even had one school that girls did not raise their hand. I was like, that's okay. I know that if you're between the ages of 13 and 18, this is something you need to know. And so
Yes.
it was like watching, that was the most impactful is seeing that shame go to like curiosity and like, yeah, maybe I should say something. And
Mm-hmm.
then going into like, oh my gosh, this is normal. And I do have power because of it. So that was such like so transformational for me.
It was huge. I remember that moment. And even like you said, the teachers were even hesitant. And I was like, are you kidding? Right? We're here to empower these girls to find their strength and no matter what conversations that they're having. And you navigated that so beautiful. You're such a powerful speaker, whether it's on a stage, in front of 200 entrepreneurial women or 2,000 girls just talking about a conversation that some of them have never even had, the permission to even speak up about. So you navigated that so well, so well. One of my favorite parts of your story specifically, because we had what, eight, nine, I think there was 10 of us total on the tour when you include the spouses and all of it. But one of my favorite parts of your story is that your husband Melvin came to support you. And then somewhere along the way, he discovered his own passion for service and impact. Now we know he's like a very service-oriented man in the States. And what was it like, though, as a wife, as a woman, to see your husband kind of stand up and say, I want to speak and I want to share? And what was that like for you?
So my husband is very quiet and he's a very strong person. He is very service oriented. The emotions don't flip back and forth like some people do. And so we all didn't know he was going to speak. He did not say a word to me. It wasn't like we were having conversations at the end of the long days that were like, I think I might speak. I think I could do this. Like, not a clue. And so he stood up in a school that was like one of the most impactful schools, like top three most impactful schools that we went to.
Yeah.
And he stood up when we were speaking to just a very small group of, I think, around 100, if I remember right.
Hmm.
He stood up. For him to stand up, it was, I don't know how to put it into words, but it just made me realize how the work even that I am doing, how it impacts others and how like for us to continue to do the work that we have to do, you need support.
Hmm.
And for him to be there as my support, he was on board. This was our first like passport stamp. Like we've never been out of the country, like all the things. So this was like first time going big. And so for him to be such a support for me, it just catapulted what I want to do with my impact and things like that. Because I'm like, I know on the hard days that I have somebody that's gonna like have my back at all times.
And I think that as strong, powerful women and just leaders and entrepreneurs, I know we're very similar and we're very successful in what we do in our businesses. I think it's important to also remind women like that are strong like us, it's okay to have someone supporting us. In fact, we need it. What advice would you give a woman who's like, I got it, I can do it all by myself? What one piece of advice would you give that lady?
I think that you can go as far until you hit burnout. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, it's a support system. Granted, some people do not have a great partner. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
But that does not mean that you don't have a support system that backs you up. You do not need a large group of friends. You do not need a large group of coworkers that are just like, yes, you need to keep going. You need one person that will put you in check and also be like, this is your dream. Why are you stopping?
Mm.
And then at the same time, being like, let's brainstorm together. Like, what do you want your life to look like? And it just takes one. And so that's where it's like, I'm gonna call bull if you're like, hey, I could totally do this by myself. No, you cannot. And if you say that, you will fail. And it's
Yeah.
just the way that it is. And it's okay to have your like humility put in check and be like, no, I can't do this by myself.
Right. And to me, why wouldn't you? I mean, I remember the days where where I was like, I can only rely on myself. I mean, everything from like kids' chores, if I don't do it, no one's going to do it right, to husband tasks, like everything. But I used to say that to myself, and that was a huge belief that was holding me back and yes, causing burnout and yes, causing stress, which was then causing hormone issues and like as you know, everything that unfolds. But the real question is like, why wouldn't you want the help? Why wouldn't you want a supportive person in your life, whether it's your husband, a coach, a mentor, or a good friend that's like, yeah, I don't even understand. I can't even imagine doing life or business now without having someone to kind of help along the way. I'm like, Okay, you're right. I want to go there faster. So just help me get there faster.
I think also like since a lot of iconic women that listen to this podcast, they are business owners and things like that. If you don't have help, you are an employee in your job. Like an
Mhm.
employee who is at the service of others and those kinds of things. But if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, you have that support. You have the mentorship that's necessary and you're going towards those things. If not, you're an employee working for like exchanging money for time all day long.
Yes. Yeah. You've left your job, your corporate job for something better, this freedom-based lifestyle. And when you
Yep.
don't get the help, you're just now chained to a different type of desk and a different type of task list. If
Yeah.
anything, it's probably a longer list, right? More
Yeah.
overwhelming to be an entrepreneur than to be working for somebody else.
Exactly. You can check out.
Yeah,
So,
yes. Oh my God. You're like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I'm done.
mhm,
Yeah, it doesn't typically stop like that. And you know that as much as I do.
mhm,
Okay, so I want to go back to Melvin's transformation just for a moment. I know he's not here to like share his own story. But as his wife, my husband went, like, I know we have conversations like this. And Kenya does have a way of changing people. And that was honestly one of my favorite things is to watch Melvin stand up just when we thought we were going to be done for that school that day. In my head, I'm thinking of 1,000 other things like, how am I going to wrap this up? How am I going to like do all of the, 1,000 different decisions that are going on in my brain? Then all of a sudden, your husband just kind of stands and rises and shares this beautiful story, in the lighthouse. And it was amazing. So I know that Kenya has a way of changing people. I mean, there's a reason why I've chosen Kenya to go back to over and over and over again. I'm curious if
mhm.
you had to like speak on his experience, how did you think it changed Melvin?
So we have had that conversation, like, how did it change you? Those kinds of things. And he really noticed, he's like, these kids are so happy,
Mhm.
even though they're in a certain situation. They are ones that they go to school and they don't halfway do it. They're going to school, they're getting great grades. And then when they go home, it is not just to go home and hang out with their family and go play with friends. It's literally survival that has to happen afterwards. And
Mhm.
so he's like, that completely changed the way that I look at things, where it's like, I'm not just going to like clock into my job and do it halfway and then like move on and be like, whatever, I don't have to do anything. He goes, no, like we need to have goals. We need to have things that we strive for. And we need to stand as the person that we are. Like that was a huge thing is he's like, we all have something we can do with our life. And we need to stand in that strength and we need to do it. And so that was a huge thing that he learned from Kenya.
I love that. Okay, so now what about you? How has Kenya changed you? You know what? As a leader, right? As a woman, we all experience Kenya differently. And some it's overwhelming, some it's like, oh my gosh, right? I always explain it's like, how can someone be so happy yet so sad at the same time? That's like two polar emotions that like I feel almost that every day. But how has Kenya changed you for the better, obviously?
So, going along that same line with my husband is that it really did change, like you said, the happy and sad at the same time. Like the pure joy that people have there is just amazing. Like, and it's so infectious
Yeah.
that I really wanted to try. I was like, okay, how can I be happy even in the hard times? And I'm not looking for toxic positivity, but like,
Mhm.
how can I be happy in the hard times? But then how it changed me as a leader is that I realized that one voice, one person is all that matters. You
Mhm.
do not need to affect millions to make a ripple effect. It
Yeah.
just takes one. And it's one of those things where we get in our head as leaders. We're like, how many likes do we have? How many followers do we have? Like, how many clients? All those things. And it's like, that does not matter. It is so subjective on what that is. And so that's where I thought that was a huge thing for me to realize. And it's pushed me to do things very differently in my job too,
How
where
so?
sometimes we get burned out. Sometimes it's one of those things where we get complacent. And I
Mhm.
was like, no, I really want to make sure that I am continuing to progress. And also where it's like, I have a goal for what I want to do to impact people outside of just my clients. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like that has been huge. I want to go back for sure.
Mhm.
I want to go back and teach because that's where my knowledge, my leadership is so needed locally and globally.
Yeah. So what would be like your top two favorite topics to teach on?
I really want to teach on like worth.
Okay.
Um, like that is a huge thing. I think that I talked um, just recently, even on my Instagram and things like that, but how the people in Kenya have not been given permission to really learn and progress. And then the people that I work with, they don't give themselves permission. They're giving it away all the time to something else. And so that's where I was like, I want to teach them about their worth and how they need to make the choices that are there. But then I also want to advocate for women's health. So women just do not have the education. I already do advocate for that. But I
Hmm.
think across the board, those are two things that I really want to continue to talk about is where you have the worth and now you need to advocate for your health and you need to also ask questions. I said that to the girls many times.
Yeah.
Ask the questions. You're
Yeah.
not wrong. They're not dumb questions, but ask it.
I love that. So when if you were to go back, do you see yourself more teaching on topics more at a conference level to, the adult females, or do you see, going in and doing workshops with these kids on a deeper level, or is it a combination? Like what would you if you could create the perfect next trip where Sarah just shined and most
Yeah.
importantly impacted more lives,
Yes.
what would that look like?
It would be a combination of both. I think that women, the adults there, especially in certain areas, when I talk to them, when I talk to them, when we had our media interview, all those different things, they're like, people just are not told about this. And
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to say that I can go into every village, and I don't think it's appropriate. I
Right.
think that there is a way to connect with the older adults so that they can take it back to their people and they can really apply that education that they received. And then I would love to workshop with, we went to a lot of high schools, and I would love to workshop with them and realize that they can build up their country because all of them wanted to come to America, and America can be great. But at the same time, like their impact that they could make in their own country is huge. And I would love to workshop with them. Like we talked to the boys' school that was like, they're just trying to be entrepreneurs and things like that. And I would love to support them in that and realize again, they have a worth that's not defined by anybody else, but they just have to learn the tools in order to have that happen.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So looking back now, it's been a couple of weeks. I know it's so hard to like integrate sometimes everything that we've taken away from experiences like this because it touches us as like mothers, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, but as wives, right? But it touches us at such a huge level. It's hard to really think about who did I become, right, on this journey. So looking back now, who did Sarah become because of the Rise Up Kenya journey? And what would you say to the women who feel called to join a future tour?
That is a super deep question. Who do I feel called to be? Is that what you said?
Yeah, who did Sarah become because
Oh,
of this journey? How did you grow and evolve?
I am a completely different person, and it is very hard to put into words. Um, I have a new joy and goal that I really want to push towards. But I there is no describing it. And that's why I think people need to go there to really see because there is so much that you have to see it and experience it firsthand. We can look at pictures, we can look at TikTok videos, we can look at all these things. Like you can, but you will never be there. You'll never see the sights, the sounds, the smells, all the things that are there. And
Mhm.
also the interaction, the energy connection with the people. And so that's why it totally changed who I am and who I want to be.
Mhm.
And my perspective has been changed. I think that's the biggest thing. My
Mhm.
perspective on life. I live in Nebraska. And so sometimes driving across a flat state is flat and can be boring. And I remember coming back and thinking, this state is beautiful. It is a beautiful place. And that your perspective changes on what's important in life and what you see is really how
Yeah.
it changed.
So interesting enough, I was like thinking, ooh, where am I taking this one? The next question I have for you then is what became more important and what became less important to you when you went back?
Materialistic things, 100%. Like, and what I want to do with my money. Does that make sense? Why I'm like, you know what? I would like to do different things with my money. I would like to do different things with my education, with my impact, with my platform on Instagram. You know what I mean? And so it's like little things like that that your perspective changes. It
Mhm.
doesn't change the fact that you're like, I would like to grow my business. I would like to do all the things, but your priorities and perspective change
Yeah.
drastically.
Yeah. Did you go home and have conversations with your kiddos? Because what made some of your talks so inspirational and so impactful, and you guys, as soon as these videos and everything comes out, you'll see Sarah holding things and Melvin was holding these pictures. But you obviously used those photos of your kids back home to kind of share stories and to impact lives there. Did you come home and show your kids the opposite, show them the girls that maybe created relationships with? And what did they have to say about it?
They just couldn't believe it. Like that is the thing is that I showed them pictures. Like I showed them actually one of most, I think every school I have a picture
Uh-huh.
of one of the kids and things like that. I showed them like elementary school and like what they were going through, what they enjoyed, because I have some kids in elementary school. And then I showed them more that like junior high, high school and how life is very different. Even they couldn't believe the food they eat. Like it was so funny. My kids were complaining about dinner and I was like, okay. They're like, we had this last week. And I was like, some of these kids have the same food every day.
Yes. Yes.
So, and they don't complain. They love it. And it's like those kinds of things where I'm like, that's what my kids couldn't believe it. They just could not believe it that that's what it was. And I think that's why I think kids need to see that there is a world outside of their small space that they have. And so
Yes.
how they can make a difference no matter how old they are.
I think you need to cook ugali for your kids and just some beans and be like, this is what they eat every day. Just kidding, kids. Although it's a moment, right? Where you're like, this is what you have to eat twice a day, for a decade, right? Like, don't enjoy that or don't complain about taco night every Tuesday now.
Exactly, every Tuesday.
I love it. I love it. So, yeah, you had the unique opportunity to go to and do like a radio and a podcast interview with me. You guys just picture this. It's like a tiny 5 by 3 area where it's like the radio broadcasters like right in front of us, and Sarah and I sit down and we have no idea really what we're going to talk about. In my opinion, like I'm basing it on years past. I'm like, oh, we'll talk about leadership and the tour itself and the type of impact that we're creating. But no, like this guy hit you with some pretty rock and hard questions and you navigated it. What did you appreciate about that moment, sitting there in this little baby space, just filming and recording that interview?
So when we went into that interview, we found out as we were walking in what we were going to be talking about. And he did ask me very hard questions. But
Uh-huh.
what I really liked is that he listened.
Mhm.
He was somebody who wanted to learn also.
Mhm.
And I think that it was so good for his listeners to see that they asked us a lot of like generational and political
Yeah,
questions
and global, yeah.
and, and global. Yes. Yes. And it was one of those things where I think it was good for his listeners to see. And I think it was good for me to be able to really say is that these things are affected whether you're in Kenya or you're in America.
Mhm.
Parents all feel like we're failing. We all feel like, how do we do this? How do we navigate what our kids are going through, what the technology world's happening? Like it was so many things for us to be able to talk about. And the connection that was there was huge. I loved that the global connection was there in all regards.
Yeah, yeah, he's a great interview. And I do pick that up. If you guys go back and watch, I'll probably link it in the show, that particular interview, so you can check out Sarah on that global scale. And those hard questions, I was like, oh my gosh, he just keeps nailing her with these. And she navigated them so well. But yeah, go ahead and scroll down in that show, summary down below, guys, if you want to check out the full interview. But Sarah, how did between the interview to speaking on a stage to having 2 minutes to 10 minutes, right? How did that stretch your confidence and your voice and your ability to connect with people?
So it stretched me a lot. And it was one of those things where I finally felt like you, however much preparation you make, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you just need to go up there. You have to trust yourself. that you know what you're talking about. And I literally just talked about what I knew. I didn't try to fake it. I didn't do any of those things. I was myself and I embodied that completely. And so it was able to stretch me for my confidence and to say, like, Sarah, you're enough. What you're talking about is enough. And
Yeah.
so that was huge. And sometimes we did have to go for 10 minutes and we didn't know. And so I loved that ability to do that and to be able to talk where it came so easily when you truly embodied yourself.
100%. And I think that that's really what this, Rise Up Kenya is all about. Is like your authenticity matters. And I could have told the exact same story, Sarah, and it wouldn't have hit as if it did with you, and if when the kids connected with you and their smiles lit up and I could see their brains working when you were asking them questions. And that's what it's about. It's shifting their perspective too. And I'm curious, last question, then we'll kind of roll into where people can find you and just what it is that you're kind of working on next. So I'm curious, based on now that you're home and you have these new perspectives and all of the things, do you plan on, what do you plan on doing with this experience, whether it's more speaking engagements, networking, leadership opportunities? Do you plan on doing anything now that you've been to Kenya further with it in the States?
So what I plan to do is where I really want to, one, educate people on the ability that they can go and do those things. They can go and do like a Rise Up Kenya, how they can impact.
Mhm.
But also I really am looking to network in my own local area on how I can do these same sort of things because I think that we don't I'm not ignorant. I feel like I'm ignorant to the fact that there are places around me that girls probably do need to learn about these things. There's boys that need to learn about choices and worth and doing the things that they need to do. But especially with girls, where I feel like I do need to make it where my voice goes forward and that I can start to impact people that are around me so that ripple effect can continue.
I mean, it's huge. I'll be honest, it's like I never even learned about a period ever. I
No.
never got the birds and the bees talk, right? Like I never did any of that. I was so embarrassed to even ask questions. And it's like there's still things that my 19-year-old daughter's like, Mom, you should know this by now. And I'm like, I don't know. I was never taught, right? And it wasn't because it was against our religion or anything. It was just like it was a hush conversation that it's like my parents were working and I nobody taught me anything. So I could absolutely see you using this to go to local schools. It's like I don't even know. Like I see that for you. I don't know if that's like what you're talking about, but between locally, but it's all about, you're rising by, holding out your hand and encouraging and empowering women and girls to use their voice and advocate for themselves and things like that. I don't know if you've already started. I guess it's summertime now, but like is this going to be in your 2027 plan of action moving forward? It's like pitching yourself to schools and other organizations that need to have these kinds of conversations happening. That's for sure. I don't know if that's in the cards.
It is. And that's where I would like to, because I know there's some organizations that go out there, and I just want to make sure that I continue to support them if they're already doing things, and then also be able to impact those places. Just because, granted, yes, I work in more 35 plus health, but it
Yeah.
doesn't change the fact that I can still educate and support, even if it's outside of my job. And so,
Okay, so burning question. This year was a big year for you, right? You were a collaborative author in the Alpha Queens Rising collaborative book bestseller. There she is on here. If you haven't got your copy yet, go get your copy of Alpha Queens Rising. But you did this Rise Up Kenya. You did the book. What's next for Sarah Bouse?
So I am actually continuing with my job and just like what I'm doing for my programs and things like that. But I am going to finally make a course because people have been asking for a course for so long, so long. So that is going to be on like, so if you go onto my website and you sign up and subscribe to my newsletters and things like that, you'll be the first to know about it. But it's going to be coming more in August because I love to enjoy my summers with my kids. I'm going to be honest. And
Yeah.
so August is when our school starts, but that's when I'm going to be having my course come out because some people are just not ready to jump into one-on-one with me and dive in deep. And so they want that more support that they can get through my Ascend method and things like that. So that is going to be coming just because many people have asked and I will make it.
You ask, Sarah will build it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I lied. Just for the audience, if they did not ever catch your first episode of On Iconic Leadership, guys, go back and listen to it. Sarah does break down the Ascend method. But Sarah, really quick, 30 seconds. What is the Ascend method and who is it for?
The Ascend method is where we align, stabilize, restore, and thrive. We're going to align your biology. We're going to stabilize your hormones. We're going to teach you how to restore and thrive with that. And so that's where it is for women. And I do work with some men, but it is for women specifically that is more about issues with energy, hormones, any kind of bloating, gut issues, so that we can figure out what's going on a very deep level and then stabilize, restore, and thrive.
Woohoo! All right, there you have it, ladies. If you guys are interested in any of that or the course or the one-on-one coaching programs that she offers, they're more than, I don't even want to say coaching programs because it's like it's in depth, it's testing, it's figuring out what's going on in your body because everyone's been telling you all the things. And it's like, why not just go to an expert like Sarah and get it, actual knowledge and resources and tools and support that, from a woman who just gets it. So I would highly recommend going and checking out Sarah. Sarah, what's the best place people can find you at? Where's the best place you would go?
So Instagram is the best place for right now, for sure. LinkedIn, it's always like finicky. You have to have connections and all the things, you know. So I always tell people, I'm like, find me on Instagram, then we'll connect on LinkedIn. And so that is the easy way. And it's just Sarah Bouse, FNTP. F is in Frank, NTP. But really, if you search my name, you will find me.
Sarah Bouse. Beautiful. And of course, you guys, that's all in the show notes down below. So feel free to go check her out, subscribe, get on that email newsletter. And I also think that we could probably get that course, maybe just wishful thinking out there to the girls. If you have like a 5-module course on like, what is a period and what is happening to your body? I think it'd be really cool. 'Cause as we created some computer labs and now they could definitely watch Sarah
Yes.
from afar. Just kind of throwing that out there. But anyways, all right, Sarah, thank you
Ask
so
and
much.
I'll build, you know.
I'm like, she did say if it's asked for and requested,
Yeah.
she may build it. So
Yeah.
girls in Kenya need it, not all over, honestly. But Sarah, thank you so much for being an incredible guest yet again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you guys, before you head out, I want to tell you a little bit about the She Rises movement. It was built on one powerful truth that when one woman rises, she gives other permission to rise too. And the She Rise movement, our mission is personal liberation through leadership, service, self mastery, and impact. So, through the transformational work at the Alpha Queen Collective, the amplification platform is Iconic Media, right? But the humanitarian mission is what we are calling Iconic Impact. And we are creating opportunities for women to not only transform their own lives, but transform communities all around the world, just like Sarah just got done doing. So Iconic Impact is the humanitarian pillar of the She Rises movement. And the purpose is simple, you guys, to empower, to uplift, and transform. So the Rise Up Kenya tour is one expression of that mission. Women often arrive thinking that they're going to help someone else, but what they discover is that the experience changes them too. And that's the most beautiful part about a leadership culture exchange like that. So you guys remember, leadership is not, all about the titles and everything like that. It's around, truly impacting and choosing to serve in your local community or your global community. So for right now, thank you so much. And Sarah, have a beautiful day.
Thank you.